And I'll tell you when to start. There's a 1 minute lag.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you do a double loop.
Okay, we're live.
No, I guess I won't.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Nagla Rashwan. I am a master's student in public health education and the president of the Graduate Student Association. It's my great pleasure to be with you all today in Chancellor Gilliam's Town Hall for graduate students. We are so grateful for the Chancellor, Dean Kellyberg, and all our panelists who are here today to answer our questions and discuss our concerns. We are so grateful to the continuous support we receive from UNCG. We feel it, and we are so grateful for that. As graduate students, we will be hand in hand with our UNCG in making our campus safe during the fall semester. Dean Kellyberg will be our moderator for the town hall today. We continue to encourage you to submit your questions via the form that you received from us. And what I want to conclude my word with is wishing you a wonderful and very successful town hall. And it is my pleasure to introduce Chancellor Gilliam for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Nagla, and thank you to the GSA for partnering with us in this town hall. We appreciate all that you're doing to support our students, and we appreciate all that you do for the students. Good afternoon, and thank all of you for joining us today at the UNCG Graduate Student Town Hall. We know you have many questions, and I'm going to take this off so I don't sound so muffled. And we want to get to those questions as soon as we can, but let me start by saying a few words about where we are at this point as a university and where I am as a chancellor in thinking about this. You all know that the beginning of a new academic year is always a time where we have a lot of buzz and hope and optimism. And for new and returning graduate students, there's a buzz of new energy, new research, progress toward a goal many of you have been working toward for a lifetime. For all of us who work here, that is the thousands of UNCG faculty and staff who dedicate themselves to creating a caring environment, a powerful social and academic experience. It's always nothing short of the best time of year. And I always love the beginning of a new academic year. I've been doing this now 37 years, and you include my graduate school and my undergraduate school. I've had a lot of first opening semesters. So this one's going to be a little different. Why? It's obvious. Things are tough right now. They are uncertain. They are scary. And it's our goal to bring the positive feelings associated with a new school year to life for all of you the best we can. And that's why we're here, and that's why you're here. But I get it. I get that we're dealing with two viruses, at least right now. The COVID-19 virus has and will continue to have an impact on what we do and how we do it, and at every college campus in the country. And at the same time, we're dealing with racial equity issues around the country. And here at UNCG, I know many of you read my comments, and I won't repeat them here, but just know that racial equity has been a life mission for me. It's been in my scholarship, my service, my role as a leader, and in my life as a man of color and the father of a young man of color. I said on my note, this is personal to me, but it's also an opportunity for us to transform the institutions in our society. And it's a priority here at UNCG, and I'm happy to talk about that. You know, I've been very inspired by the young people who have been engaging and taking action around the country. I've been inspired by the UNCG students who have been taking action, and that action has many forms. It can be attending a protest, creating art as an expression of protest, posting resources on social media, it's voting, it's donating to social justice causes, it's making anti-racist and equity work a focus of one's scholarship, and it's changing institutions. And I've always been focused on changing institutions, and I'm more than happy to share my views with you during the Q&A. But dealing with these two viruses changes very little about why we're here. If anything, it strengthens our resolve to give you what you expect, what you deserve from your experience here, but to do it in a way that is as safe as possible, with maximum flexibility from everyone and for everyone to help us move through a very uncertain time in our lives. I've told other groups that I've talked to, you know, this isn't just a bad case of the flu. This is an event that you will remember for the rest of your lives. You'll remember where you were and how it's affected your life, and you'll remember it for the rest of your life. So I recognize the significance of this time in our country's history. Now for graduate students, you're a unique population, and we're very aware of this. Many of you work here also as instructors, you're researchers, and you share the concerns of our students and our faculty and staff. And many of you have worries related to parenting, or you're a primary caregiver for an older relative. And so we understand you feel the full weight of this pandemic in many ways that others don't and can't. But you're also part of the solution to these challenges. Universities are unique communities. They're, you know, we're places where very smart people and motivated people try to solve problems. The biggest challenge, the greatest challenges that we face as a society. And the perspectives that you have combined with your growing academic expertise and your focus you bring to our community is going to help us as we navigate through this. Is one of the reasons why we're having this forum. We're going to try to do our best to answer all your questions today based on what we know today. But one of the things that this has taught me is that things can and will likely change. Things that we thought were solutions 2 weeks ago aren't today. And we may discover new opportunities to do more as we move forward. As I've told our staff here, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And for those of you who study organizations, this is a fascinating case study because this is about decision-making under conditions of extreme uncertainty. And you know, universities are places where there's a great deal of routinization. Just as we start a new school year, we start it at the same time. We offer many of the same courses and degrees year over year. And this is challenging us, this pandemic and the racial equity virus. They're both challenging us to do things that are out of our comfort zone, to be nimble, to be flexible, to be adaptable, to be quick, and try to make the decisions the best we can. I want you to know that I'm aware of the fact that we're not always going to get it right. We're trying our best, but we are doing so without complete information. And so we have a wide range of folks on the campus who are thinking about this now 24/7 as we approach the new school year. But the fact of the matter is, we have to tackle this together. And I've talked a lot since I've been here in my 5 years about shared fate, the concept of shared fate. What affects one affects the other. And now more than ever, we have a shared fate. As we know, the transmission of the virus from person to person makes this palpable and real for all of us. And it only takes one person as we've seen, to infect large numbers of people. So we really need to think about community, and what we're trying to do here at the university is establish a community standard, a standard that says we have to look out for one another. We have to be cognizant of the fact that this is bigger than any one of us, and we all get caught up in our day-to-day lives and in our work, but this is bigger than just us individually. We'll have to tackle this collectively, and to do that, we need to think like a community. So we're going to try here this evening to answer your questions, to do the best we can with what we know today. And I want you to know that I personally, I don't even know quite how to express my feelings, other than to say that I worry. I worry about the safety of the student body and the faculty and staff. I worry about the progress that our students make towards their goals. I worry about the health and safety of our community. And I too am scared. It's difficult. You don't have all the answers. You don't have many of the answers. And it's a state of vulnerability that is uncomfortable. But we have to keep our eyes forward and think about the things that we can do to get back to a regular way that we do things here at the university, and to do so keeping everyone as safe as we can. So I want you to know there are a lot of people working on this. It's not obviously just me. We have a very fine staff, and I have a great confidence in them. Several of them are here today. So I could go on, but the fact of the matter is we have to work together. Just that simple. So my colleague, Kelly Burke, who's the Dean of the Graduate School, is going to moderate these questions. And we'll have a group of people who will fill in some of the details of some of the questions, but I will certainly give the broad stroke. So I'll stop there. Professor Burke, I turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Chancellor. Thank you for those wonderful remarks. You always speak so eloquently and right to the heart of every matter. Graduate students, for those of you that are current students, welcome. And for those of you that are joining UNCG for the first time, probably through this Zoom call, I look forward to getting to know each of you and getting together with you and your new colleagues that you'll make once you join the Spartan team. So, Chancellor Gilliam, we had over 150 pre-submitted questions over the space of a week. So I'm going to ask you some of the questions that are the most on our students' mind. So first and foremost, we had many international students asking about this new Homeland Security directive that fortunately was overturned thanks to the support of many universities challenging that rule. Are there any further updates about what might be happening with our international students?
Thanks, Kelly. I just want to, before I get to that question, let folks know who's on the screen. The person that you may not recognize is the fellow with, well, there's a couple guys with gray beards, but the newest gray beard to our team, Jim Coleman, who is our new provost, comes to us after a stint as provost at the University of Arkansas. He was leading their COVID response at that university. And so while he's learning the ropes here at UNCG, he's very well versed in how institutions are planning. And I'll just go in order of who I see on the screen. Julia Jackson Newsom, who is Associate Vice Chancellor for Strategy and Planning. Julia has been the point person for our COVID response as a campus, and she has been doing a remarkable job bringing everyone together. Kathy Akins, the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, Dr. Tracy McMillan, Student Health, Andrew Hamilton, who is the Dean of the Undergraduate College, or school, I guess we call it. Tim Sloan. Tim, I'm sorry, I don't have your exact title, so why don't you tell folks?
Director of Environmental Health and Safety.
Environment, EHS, that's right. Tim Johnson, who runs our student housing. Samir Kapashwari, who is our new facilities man and runs all the facilities on campus. Greg Bell, who many of you know, Associate Dean in the Graduate School. Terry Shelton, who is the Vice Chancellor for Research. Maria Anastasiou, who is our new Director of our International Programs. You've met Nagla, and I think I've covered everyone. So let me get back to your question, Kelly, if I can get my screen right. Okay. We are, of course, all happy that DHS reversed course. It was good news. I do know it created extra anxiety for our international students and international scholars. So essentially what we have is a return to the status quo, which allows flexibility for international students to take online only courses where necessary. However, this applies only to returning students, not students who will be beginning their studies in August. Maria is tracking this and providing regular updates. She has a FAQ and email. Maria, do you just want to talk about how you're communicating the latest news from with regards to international students?
Yes, thank you, Chancellor. Yes, my name is Maria Anastasiou. I'm the new Associate Provost for International Programs here at UNCG, and I'm very glad to be here and supporting you. We have created a frequently asked questions on our website, and we are updating it as we get to that point. I want to clarify that the guidelines that we have from SCVP and we're operating by at this moment is from March 2020, which, like the Chancellor said, allows flexibility. Now, those guidelines were very specific to the spring and summer semesters. So we're waiting for more guidelines regarding the fall semester and hope that the SCVP will allow the same flexibility as it did in the spring and summer, especially in light of the outcry against the unfair proposed guidelines. We will send emails to students as soon as we have those new guidelines from SCVP, and we will update the frequently asked questions as well. I wanted to also add one more thing about travel update, if that's okay with you, Chancellor. So on Wednesday, July 15th, US embassies and consulates started a phased reopening of routine visa services. So the services currently provided by each embassy or consulate will depend on the local conditions. So we encourage you to check the post websites to see the specific updates in your country. Certain categories of travelers, and that includes students, qualify for the national interest exceptions for those students coming from the Schengen area, the United Kingdom and Ireland. And this, if you remember, they barred entrance from these countries. But students with valid F1 and M1 visas and their dependents from these regions and countries may travel to the US while these proclamations are in effect. You don't need to go to the embassy to seek a national interest exception to travel, because this is already there. If you are on a J visa, you may contact the nearest embassy or consulate to initiate an exception request, and a decision is made at the time of the interview. There is no guidance yet. There is no national interest exception announced for students and all other travelers that are coming from China, and we're hopeful that that's going to come. So again, we're updating our frequently asked questions on the International Program Center website, and we will send an email out as soon as we have any of this information. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Kelly?
All right, Chancellor, the single most commonly asked question of me, and we've received over a dozen of the same question, surrounds the graduate assistantships and whether graduate students, the offers will be guaranteed even if the university goes fully online at some point during the semester.
Well, I know the students are concerned about this. The honest answer is we cannot guarantee 100% if circumstances change. We want to, we intend to, but in this environment, we just can't guarantee it. Many of these decisions, and you'll hear me say several times, may be made at the system level. Unfortunately, I can't offer you a guarantee, but I can say it's our intention to do all that we can to protect graduate student assistantships.
Thank you, Chancellor. That's, I think, the most we can hope for in these times. So we've received a lot of questions about the decision-making process, about why we did not decide to go fully online.
Well,
That's a tough one.
that's a tough one, but it's pretty simple answer, which is obviously we operate within the UNC system. And these broad policy decisions are made at the system level and made by the UNC Board of Governors. They've made it very clear that the individual campuses will not have local decision-making authority, and they will make those policy decisions. Nonetheless, we hold to our belief that our role is to deliver the best education that we can to serve our students, to do it with safeguards. We understand that COVID may be setting back their progress on time to degree, but we're really trying hard to balance the variety of needs and preferences that our students and our faculty have about face-to-face, hybrid, and online, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Let you know, as it stands today, about 56% of our courses are face-to-face, 11% are hybrid, and about a third are online. And so let me talk a little bit about decision-making here on the campus, the things we do control, and how we've set this up. And Julia Jackson-Newsom, fill in if I miss something. But these committees I'm going to talk about all report back to the Chancellor's Council, which is made up of the Vice Chancellors and some Associate Vice Chancellors. We have a core COVID team that is environmental health and safety represented, facilities represented, student health, emergency management, and is led by Julia. We have a COVID case management team, 30 folks from across the campus. We have a COVID operations team, about 60 people from across campus. We have a fall 2020 resumption team. It's about 20 people that are focused on the student experience and academics. And we have about 15 people on a student communications team. And so these subgroups all feed up to the planning that we do here on the campus. We feel pretty good about that. We'll be releasing, I think, shortly, and I know Jeff Schaefer's on the call, but is heard but not seen, a guidebook for all of the reopening plans. So it's been a very elaborate planning process here on the campus, the things that we can control.
Well, thank you, Chancellor. I have a bit of a follow-up to that. Early in the process, faculty were allowed to choose their mode of instruction. Are graduate students going to be empowered to teach online as well?
The graduate teaching associates, as instructors of record, are able to make their own decisions about the modality of delivering their courses. Graduate instructional assistants, however, will be expected to follow the modalities established by the faculty. If you have concerns, you should speak to your faculty supervisor, but in no case is a graduate instructional assistant expected to present in a face-to-face situation without the faculty present. And I don't know if you want to add a little bit more to that, either Jim Kelly or Greg Bell.
So graduate students, please, if you feel like you're in a tight spot between a rock and a hard place, between trying to speak up to your cherished mentor and concerned with your safety, that's when you reach out to me or you reach out to Dr. Bell, and we'll help you work through it. Our number one concern on this campus right now is that we open reopen responsibly and safely. So anyhow, we expect no problems, but if that does happen, just reach out.
Kelly,
Oh, sorry.
you're the question asker.
Yeah, okay. So we also get, we're getting a lot of questions on clarity on tuition and fees, because if it's not maybe going to be the same experience as a full face-to-face, is there refunds possibly? What's the discussion around that, the financial piece?
I know there's been a lot of concern over this issue, and I understand the students' concerns. The bottom line is this. The system office and the Board of Governors are making all the decisions regarding any refunds on tuition and fees. Right now, the system policy is that fees and tuitions won't change, even if our mode of instruction does change. And somebody tell me, I'm not sure where it's that policy's posted, but I think if you ask Kelly or Greg Bell, God, I can't talk. You'll be able to find it. But let me just say one thing. Even when students aren't here, there are many services that are still being provided and therefore need funds to be supported. Student government activity, virtual events, health services, counseling, and access to mental health counselors and clinical services through telehealth. The EUC and Kaplan continue to operate in various forms. We have training. Many of the fees have gone for training and for workshops for faculty on the best practices for online pedagogy and effective course design for online courses. We try to help our less experienced faculty members sort of move from being simply remote instructors to really savvy online educators. And we also have been, of course, supporting instructional spaces that are appropriately physically distanced. And we have new technology in all the classrooms, a capture technology specifically designed for online learning. We've made a big investment. I don't know I think I've caught most of it, but this is true at this university and most large public universities. I know it's a key issue for you. I know it's something you and your families are concerned about and talk about. There's going to be continued discussion at the Board of Governors level about this. They meet next week, I think late next week, and they're going to take a look at these policies and determine what they're going to do. As soon as we know, we will let you know. And if there are any changes to the existing policy. But as it stands now, they have said that even if the mode of instruction changes, tuition and fees won't change.
Okay, thank you. So we've had several questions from our doctoral research community whose research projects often involve face-to-face work or community-based participatory research. So what options can UNCG provide to enable these students to pursue their planned research safely?
Kelly, I want to assure everybody, and everybody needs to know, the fundamental mission of the university is teaching, service, and research. We take the research enterprise very seriously here at UNCG, and our goal is to keep it going even during this time as best we can. We've had a record-breaking year in research. Our awards are up 7% over last year and up about 25% over the last 5 years. So obviously this is very, very important to us. Vice Chancellor Shelton is on this call, and she can give you a little bit more flavor to how we've been approaching the research enterprise. Terry, or I can't see you. Oh, there you are. You want to fill in here?
Sure, I'll jump in. Yeah, it is very important, not only for creating new knowledge, but obviously this is foundational to your work as a graduate student and your future as a professional, wherever that takes you. And so, in keeping with the theme of what's been discussed here, you know, we're looking at how we can move as quickly as possible and as slow as necessary. So trying to find that balance. So when we had to ramp everything down, we knew there would be a time when we could open things back up. And so we created a task force that did include grad students to think about what would be the process across the wide diversity of scholarship and creative activity and research that we have on our campus. And so we have a process that's on the Keep Researching website where folks could enter in their ramp up research plans, some of which we couldn't start initially, but at least those plans would be there. And those plans are reviewed by the department chair up to the dean or the associate dean of research into my office with folks that need to take a look at it. And we have reviewed and approved about 80 plans with another 15 modifications that are in there. And we're looking at each one. And wherever possible, trying to look for a way to safely make that happen. So probably some of the first things that went back on were some bench science work where we can physically distance, work in shifts back onto the campus. The next piece was proving field research. Initially, that was in 50-mile radius, but now we have approved and have research that's going out across the state, and a couple very measured ones out of state as well. And we will begin to open up some face-to-face human subjects research very carefully so that we can take a look at that. We also worked with faculty around how do you pivot. So there are some things that we're able to do in human subjects research that we're doing remotely now in our community engaged research, where we're working with those community partners to engage and gather that information. So our intent is to look at how we can move that forward. And if you've got questions about your own research, talk to your faculty mentor, but you're also welcome to contact me. We have been very creative. We stay in touch with our counterparts across the system, but across the country, because everybody's doing this the first time and we're learning from each other ways that we can advance. And I just want to add one other thing that came up. We have strongly encouraged and will continue to do so that as faculty ramp up research, that they're very sensitive to the different comfort levels that students may have in coming back on and engaging in that research. And so we encourage you to talk to them about that. But as Kelly talked about, if you have any concerns around that conversation, you can speak to her, but you can also speak to me and my office as well. And we can find alternatives that can keep your scholarship, your progress to degree moving forward, but do it in a way that's safe. So, and I welcome anybody else that wants to weigh in.
Well, I was going to have Jim weigh in just to talk just a little bit about the norms we're trying to establish with the faculty when it comes to the graduate students.
So Frank, tell me a little bit about sort of more what you wanted me to.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that we're encouraging the faculty to be responsive to the students' needs and preferences, and we expect them to be responsive to either concerns students have about going back and both teaching and researching, and our encouragement that they pay particular attention. So I've answered my own question.
Well, I mean, I'll add a little bit more.
Yeah, please.
I think, you know, as the Chancellor mentioned early on and Terry reiterated, what's going on in our research is extraordinarily important to the campus and to you, and we need to do it as safely as possible. And I think having been involved in Arkansas before I came here, where we also addressed this issue, I've been really impressed with the process that we've put in place to ramp up research and the care that we are taking in making sure that the plans to ramp up research can be done safely and are taking into account also the anxiety and risk that individuals can take. And I think the deans and I and Terry are working with our faculty to make sure that we can ramp up our research effectively and make sure that you can proceed through your program, to make sure we meet the demands of our sponsors, and to make sure that we can do that as safely as possible, and to ensure that you're protected. And I will tell you, being new to the UNCG campus, we have a great sense of caring in the community among our faculty and our leadership, and I'm feeling confident that this will be down. But if you have issues, like Kelly already mentioned, to make sure you let her know, and we will, and the deans will work with our faculty to make sure we live in a flexible and compassionate environment of research and teaching.
Thanks, Jim.
So I'd like to add one comment to that is we have had great success with our summer online writing camps and boot camps. And so we're going to have a ramp up writing kind of stuff that's going on this fall. We're going to have workshops on the various style guides. We're going to have drop-ins. We're going to learn about the Pomodori method. So we're going to have all sorts of things that are actually working really well on Zoom. So just stay tuned and be looking for those.
Thank you, Kelly and Jim and Terry. I just can't stress it enough, and Jim, you lifted the point up again about how important the research enterprise is to the university. We, and many of us on this call, have spent a career researching, and I see Jim nodding his head. We know what it's like to run studies of various kinds, whether it's community engaged or bench science or experimental or field research or whatever it is. And so we're highly sympathetic to your concerns about keeping your research going and finding ways to pivot, as Terry mentioned, when necessary. So I just want to also say that in the Office of Research and Engagement is where you'll find and the site and the ramp up reentry plan, which is spelled out in great detail. So we feel like we're making real good headway there, and we anticipate that we're going to do all we can to keep folks' work going forward.
All right, thank you. So we're moving into the area where we've been asking you to submit questions all along. So we're going to move into some of the live questions. So I am going to have Greg Bell. Am I supposed to read it from chat? Okay, here's our first question. I believe this one will be directed to either Julia or Health Services, but what am I supposed to do if somebody in my class tests positive for COVID?
Hi, this is Julia Jackson Newsom again, Associate Vice Chancellor for Strategy and Policy, and I've been leading the COVID effort on our campus since this spring. If you test positive, or if you are teaching a class and you have a student who tests positive, that information needs to get reported to Student Health Services, and we have a self-reporting mechanism for doing that that is easily accessible on our COVID website. So the student should be asked to report that to Student Health, and if they've sought help through Student Health will also have those records there. Following that, they will be followed up by somebody from Student Health to give them instructions and ask them some questions to identify close contacts, give them instructions around isolating themselves so that they don't spread the virus to other people. And then we will work very closely with our public health department to determine who else may have been exposed and reach out to them to instruct them around whether they need to get tested themselves and whether they need to quarantine. We have worked with our faculty very closely, and we are telling our students that we have lots of options in place should students become ill and can't complete a class. So as graduate students, you might either be a student in a class or teaching a class. And we will work closely with you to make sure that you have the opportunity to complete your class, if at all possible, using the same mechanisms that we would use in any situation if someone is to become ill.
Thanks, Julia.
All right, so our next question from the floor is, how are faculty being prepared to deliver high quality online instruction starting this fall? Greg, I couldn't see the whole question, so.
Well, it's just the questions around how do we, what have we been doing to help faculty, and I mentioned it earlier, prepare to teach online, and so in a way that the quality is the same as face-to-face. And I know we've had a number of things going on this summer. And Jim, as you're new to the campus, I don't know if you're aware of all of them, but we have really spent a lot of resources for faculty workshops and faculty training. And I like this term, to become good online educators. You know, I think part of the question is motivated by what happened in the spring. And, you know, you all have to recognize, and many of you who are teaching know this, we pivoted from face-to-face to online in 5 or 6 days. And faculty who did not sign up to teach online all of a sudden had to, and probably weren't as prepared as they might be. So we've used the summer to offer a series of services to the faculty to make more robust courses, to understand what it's like to teach in an online environment. And I don't know if Jim or Kelly wants to speak to this and add a little more color.
I'll say one thing. I mean, you're right, I'm still learning all what we've done, but I will note that the system put together a really wonderful training module for faculty across campus on creating online courses. I was really happy to see that UNCG faculty were participated at pretty much this near the highest level of any campus in the system. There were a large number of faculty that participated. So that just says to be one aspect of our faculty's interest in really learning to teach as effectively online as possible. I know we've had a lot of things going on in the summer, but I wonder if Andrew might be able to comment on a few of the specifics.
Sure, there are really 3 efforts. One is, hi, Andrew Hamilton. I'm Associate Vice Provost for Student Success and Dean of Undergraduate Studies. There are 3 efforts. One is to do with technology. So we have new lecture capture technology in a great many of the classrooms now that really opens up the way that the work that's happening there can be broadcast and participated in by students at a distance. Some of us have used that same technology at other institutions where we came from before and really liked it. So new technology is enabling new things in the classroom. I want to underscore something the Chancellor said. What we did in the spring, I was referring to as emergency remote instruction rather than online courses. We spent all summer trying to do a better job of offering really fully developed online courses. So another initiative, I think there were 135 or 137 faculty who participated in what I would call full-throated course redesign. So this wasn't about technology only, it was about redesign of the entire course to be offered as a hybrid or as online, as the case may be. So I don't know how many sections that adds up to be, because there are multiple sections of each course. But and then the other piece of it is that there have been chairs and deans and associate chairs and me and my team having communities of practice all over campus about what works and what didn't work, and about what pedagogies are effective, and how do we design exams to be given online? How do we make sure that when folks have questions mid-semester, they know who to ask and they can get answers quickly that are accurate and helpful? So we've done a lot of building of infrastructure, technology, course design, and personal relationships for those who have done a lot of teaching online already. So, and of course, we made large scale schedule adjustments as well. So students have maximum opportunities to control their academic lives as best as possible.
And Andrew, could you just say a word about how we've informed people about which classes have been moved online or which classes are hybrid or which classes are face-to-face?
Sure, Chancellor. This was a kind of a difficult lift for us because our student information system is not really designed to do the thing that we had to make it do, but I will say we did it and pretty quickly. Lots of information went out at the unit level about courses that have been taken online. So I know advising leads in most of the units advise their students that their courses moved online. We made changes to what's displayed in Genie. So students who are wondering what the state of play is with respect to their modes of instruction, it's now very clearly labeled in Genie. If you look in Genie, you will see there are new banners on those courses. So if you're in a hybrid course, it's marked very clearly as a hybrid course. One of the reasons we did that is that we just, our first instinct was to make the schedule changes so that folks can be in the sections and meeting patterns they wanted. But our next instinct was to make it crystal clear. So you could have 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago seen what was happening if you knew how to read the nomenclature. But what we did after that was very clear labeling of what's there. And of course, I made some videos about how to drop and add classes and invited messages from students and parents. I got hundreds of them, by the way, which I was quite happy to answer. So we did it in 3 ways. We did it, sort of change the way the schedule is displayed in Genie. We did it by emailing a lot of students at the department and school or college level, and then with broadcast of videos.
Thanks, Andrew. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that your shop and others had to re-engineer, if you will, the schedule of 4,200 sections.
Yeah, that's just about exactly right. Yeah. What happened, just very quickly, and I'll spare you all the pain, but if you were on campus on the 4th of July weekend, you would have seen a lot of people shackled to their desks because we were working very hard to push out all those changes by that Tuesday. We were after the holiday because we wanted to give students and families just maximum amount of time to understand what their schedule possibilities would be.
And I know, Greg, I sort of usurping your role here, but I see this in the chat and Andrew's talking. So the students are asking, do the graduate student instructors get access to the same resources that faculty do, like capture technology and some of the workshops? And Kelly, you may be able to answer that as well.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, if you're a new graduate teaching associate and teaching a course online for the first time, you have to go through Ready to Teach, the online training module. And then Dr. Bell and I already know that we're going to be holding more workshops throughout the semester. As you're learning about teaching online, we will be responsive to your needs. So yes, you'll have access to every piece of technology that is in the classrooms, the Panopto lecture capture. You have access to all the university teaching and learning workshops, which are wonderful. And you have access to work with the folks that work in our Division of Online Learning. So we're ready to prepare and be prepared for more support for new students that are doing this for the first time. Let's see. So this is another health related one. As a teaching assistant, will I be responsible for disinfecting the classroom after every session? I guess this is for Samir.
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Samir Kapileshwari, Associate Vice Chancellor for Facilities. So our facilities operation housekeeping team is trained and equipped to disinfect all the high-touch areas, which includes the door knobs, handles, elevator call buttons, and also the door push plates, stair railways. As far as the classrooms are concerned, they will be cleaning and disinfecting the classroom surface times a day and throughout the day as the classroom schedule allows. But specifically to answer your question, we will be stocking wipes so that the students, faculty can use them to clean their immediate surrounding areas as needed. But no, we are not asking the TAs to We'll have the housekeeping team ready to do that, but we will have the supplies to clean your immediate areas.
And we call them what? Enhanced cleaning protocols. And Samir and his shop have been making sure that they've sourced the materials and the equipment necessary to clean the classrooms, the common spaces, the high touch areas. And we'll have wipes, I think, available throughout the campus in many ways so that people can use them and clean whatever it is they personally want to clean. Big job also.
Yeah. All right, so this next question is actually two questions. So I can field the first one and then I'll call Maria on the next one, but can international students defer their funding or will their funding be lost? In normal circumstances, if a student defers, there's no guarantee that the funding waits for you. In this case, I have asked all departments to be very, very humane, and where we are right now, I'm not letting anyone reassign your tuition support award because they are controlled by moderated by the graduate school. And I'm encouraging them to save your stipend too. So if a faculty member is trying to move an award away from an international student, they must go through my office, and I am speaking with the faculty member about what are the realistic chances of that student getting here in January. And if I can let you reassign this for one semester, but I want you to honor your obligation to the international student. So if you feel like you're getting pinched, that's again where you contact me. So your faculty member won't be able to guarantee you funding for if you have to defer for a full year, because I'm not allowed to give a graduate student a contract that goes beyond 1 year. But I am asking them to keep you in consideration for priority for next year's funding, but they cannot guarantee that to you. So the second part of this question is, do international students have to quarantine when they arrive? So I think Maria is probably best for that one.
Well, I will try. I'm not really sure that I am the best, but I will say that international students are treated the same way that all other students will be treated. They'll follow the same protocols that are in place for our students returning back to campus, which I don't believe there is any quarantine required of those students. Maybe some of the other colleagues on the call here who have that protocol better in place can respond to that. But this is what I believe is happening. Our international students will be treated just like any other student. They're no different than our other students.
Tracy or Julia, do you have anything to add there?
I'm Dr. Tracy McMillian. I'm the medical director at Student Health Services, and our policy at this point, after consultation with the local health department, was that anyone that has traveled internationally and comes back to campus will be asked to quarantine. And it's really primarily, I understand some folks would have concerns about looking at the number of cases we have in the United States compared to other countries, but it also, you have to take into account the fact that you're on a plane for an extended period of time. We just felt, after talking with the health department, they also recommended a 14-day quarantine for anyone. It's not just international students, excuse me, it's anybody that is traveling internationally.
Thanks, Tracy.
So does UNCG have free or affordable COVID-19 testing kits? And I'll do these together. Does the university have the means to contact, trace, isolate, and treat on campus if students do test positive? So Julia and Tracy, this one's for you.
Well, I'll start out first and say, Student Health Services, we've been open the entire time, continuing to serve the students. We have been performing testing on students that have presented with symptoms that have been consistent with coronavirus. And so we do have the capacity to provide testing. As far as whether or not there's a cost to it, we usually end up billing students' insurance. Most insurances are covering the cost of testing for folks who are exhibiting symptoms. I would encourage anyone that has any questions to talk to their individual insurance company about whether or not that is covered. We certainly at Student Health can file that insurance for you, file that charge on your behalf if you have a copy of your insurance card uploaded through the student portal or the patient portal. If you go to shs.uncg.edu and log into the portal, there is a place where you can upload your insurance information. So we can certainly help you facilitate filing that, that claim for testing.
Julia, do you want to say something about contact tracing?
Sure, I'm happy to. So contact tracing, the process of contact tracing is something that is typically done by the public health department once somebody has a positive test. But because of the circumstances on our campus, we do some of the initial work in identifying close contacts, as I mentioned earlier. And we're actually working with public health right now to train some of our staff so that they can assist public health with the contact tracing process, just so that we can make sure that we don't have any significant delays in that. We do also have the capacity to quarantine and isolate individuals on campus if we need to. We would prefer that folks be able to go home if the conditions that they live in allow that. So if they can get home without having to use commercial travel, if there's no one in their home who is high risk for being exposed to COVID, we will try to get them home where they can be cared for. But if they need to stay on campus, we have set aside rooms for that purpose. And Student Health Services will be actively monitoring students who are in quarantine or isolation related to their symptoms. We also have good relationships with Cone Health, which is our local health system. They have begun several clinics in the area to deal explicitly with COVID patients. We have been talking with their lead infectious disease expert, and we will pull them in and refer students out to them if we become concerned that they have developed complications related to COVID.
All right, thank you, Julia. Dr. Bell, we have time for one last question before we move into the Chancellor's closing remarks. So how are we ensuring that professors and other staff members are safe? And are we offering paid leave for at-risk graduate students such as the immunocompromised and elderly? So I think, Samir, if you take the first one, I can take the second one. The safety of our faculty.
I'd be happy to. So first of all, we will basically, just as the CDC guidelines say, the most effective way to address the COVID concerns right now remains frequently washing your hands, social distancing, and using of face coverings. As we discussed earlier, we do have an enhanced cleaning protocol right now, where we'll be addressing all the high-touch areas, the restrooms, the classrooms, labs, and we also will be providing hand sanitizers, wipes. So all the community protective equipment will be provided campus-wide. We're also focusing on the facilities and the heating, ventilation, air conditioning system, trying to focus on the filtration, the dilution, the maintenance aspect, making sure that we have the appropriate filters, appropriate air changes in place. So those are some of the things that we are doing on campus to ensure facilities that are safe.
Thank you, Samir. As for the second,
And can we just say something quickly about face coverings and how we're going to make them available on campus? Julia or somebody can answer that. I know we are, and I know there'll be stations. Tim, is it?
Yeah, so I've unmuted myself, Tim Sloan, the Director of Environmental Health and Safety. In addition to what Samir just said, we're providing face coverings for all students, faculty, staff on campus. In the case of faculty, we're also providing face shields as well, so we can have better communication in the classroom. So there will be stations around campus during the first week of classes and leading up to the first week of classes. And then there will be permanent stations on campus where we can pick up additional face coverings throughout the course of the semester. So they'll be in great supply on campus the moment you arrive on campus. They'll be in your residence hall room the moment you get there. And then there will be supplemental ways to pick them up that we're still working through.
And we're requiring everybody to wear them.
Amen to that, yes.
And if you've seen any of the studies, the infrared studies about the spread of the droplets, with and without face coverings. It's obvious, and I might just add somewhat editorially that we believe in science on this campus, and the science suggests that this is the best way. Great, Jim, you might, for anybody who wants to get really serious about looking at this, Jim sent around an article, I think that was in Science magazine, and a very, very detailed statistical analysis. Jim, do you just want to say a quick word about that study?
The studies Frank is mentioning was really, it made it into the journal Science, which is one of the most prestigious journals, because I think it was a new statistical modeling study. But they looked at interventions that they tried to correlate changes in the behavior of the spread of the disease by major interventions that were undertaken, particularly in Germany. And social distancing and wearing masks were the two major ones that showed that not only slowed the spread of disease, but helped it decay. So.
And so I just wanted to, and people can find that piece if they want in Science, but it's just clear. I just want to say something about the classrooms and face coverings. Students cannot be in the classroom without face coverings. I know many of you students are teaching, graduate students are teaching. Some will be available. Some instructors, I think, will have them, but I don't think that is a requirement. Students will be asked to leave and get face coverings. And I know Kathy Akins is on. She may be able to give the more complete answer. But for habitual offenders, we may find them in violation of the Student Code of Conduct. So we don't expect instructors to be the enforcement agents here, but we do expect a campus standard that face coverings need to be worn in the classroom, in all public and common spaces. And I think if we can just get folks to wear them, the campus will be much safer. So I can't stress that enough for everyone in the classroom. So I'm getting the hook here on this session. So Kelly, or you want to start?
So graduate students, thank you so much for being here today. This last question about risk and keeping your pay and everything, just remember and know for your new students, you're in a community that cares. And we are going to do everything we can to help you achieve your educational goals. As the Chancellor said, we've got to be comfortable with the unknown. And we're just going to, we have to come together as a community and roll with it, how it goes. I want to thank all of our panelists for being here. New students, you're going to just love the faculty here and the people who work hard for your education. Chancellor Gilliam, thank you so much for giving your time. And I want to give you an opportunity to give some closing inspirational remarks to our graduate students.
Well, the first inspirational remark is that I value graduate education so much, I wore long pants today for this session. And that is a deep commitment on my part. But seriously, I mentioned the return to campus document. It will be going out Monday. I encourage all of you to read it. It's a lot of thought and care has been put into that. I want to thank the GSA and Nagla and her colleagues for co-hosting this town hall and for all of their efforts to keep the graduate students informed. I know we have many channels. Kelly's office, Professor Burke's office has been developing a series of ways that you can connect and ask questions. Professor Bell also has been leading that. The GSA itself has done a great job of establishing ways to communicate with the graduate students. And as a campus, we're trying our best to communicate what we know, to be transparent about what we are doing. I think one of the things to end with is that we recognize graduate students are unique to any university, and here especially to ours. You have different concerns in the undergraduate population, and they need to be addressed as such. So we're working hard to try to make this return to campus as safe as possible. I've been asked to tell you that this session has been recorded. We will post it online. And finally, I just want to say that this university is 127 years old. It's gotten through world wars, the Depression, Vietnam War, the list goes on, and it will continue to move forward. And our thinking is not only how do we in the immediate environment keep everyone safe and healthy as we can, but also thinking about how do we move the university forward, and how do we think of ourselves in the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, and what are we really trying to accomplish to be a transformative institution that blends access and excellence to change the world, quite frankly. And you all are important parts of our campus community. It's important that you know we recognize and see you. And we also feel your pain. It's unsettling. I just can't, I didn't sleep last night. I mean, it's difficult. It just is. And we all have to hang in there, hang on to the rope however you can. Some days your grip will be tighter and some days it'll be a little less so, but you have to hang on. You have to hang in there. We'll get through this, and we'll continue to try our best to ensure that you can progress with your careers, with your scholarship, and know that we're trying to do everything we can to support you. So thank you all for being here this evening. Thanks to my colleagues here on the panel. As you can see, we have a great group of folks. We really do. I must say I've been proud of our team. They've risen to the occasion. They've changed the way they've been doing things. They've had to put down other projects and really devote their time and energy to this. And as you can see, a lot of thought and a lot of care has gone into this. And it's because we value you and we value this university. So keep hanging on that rope. I know I am. Just hanging on for dear life. And so have a good evening. Be safe, and we'll see you in the fall.